Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Black, Wealthy, and Wise. Today we're going to be talking with Michelle Bolden. She is the owner of Home Helpers of North Atlanta. And she's going to be sharing with us her entrepreneurial story. And we're actually going to have a part two where we will be discussing some of the issues and some of the challenges associated with long-term care, especially when taking care of elderly or aging parents. So this will be part one where we'll talk about her entrepreneurial story. And then in part two, we'll share some ideas around how to prepare to take care of your aging or elderly parents. Hey, this is Alex B. Jones, host of Black, Wealthy, and Wise, the number one podcast for helping families escape financial slavery and create financial freedom so they can live their best life and leave a legacy for their family. And today we have a very special guest, Michelle Bolden. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Alex.
Well, you are so welcome. Thank you for joining me. And today, Michelle is going to be sharing with us her story of how she actually got started in the home healthcare field and her whole experience going from working as a registered nurse to becoming an entrepreneurial CEO. So she's going to share her story with us today. So, if you could share a little bit with us and kind of, tell us a little bit about where you are now and where you are right now in your entrepreneurial journey.
Sure. Well, currently I'm the owner and administrator for Home Helpers of North Atlanta. And we service pretty much the city of Atlanta, most of the Midtown up to Buckhead, over to the Decatur, North Druid Hills area. And so we service families who have a need for care in their home.
Okay, awesome. And so, when you say care, what type of care would that be, for instance?
So it's generally categorized as two types of care: personal care and companion care. Personal would include anything that's a touch care, so bathing, dressing, grooming. Companion care are those things like assisting with making a meal, doing the laundry, those things that people as they get older have a challenge to do, have a challenge with doing. And so we support them in that. And most of our clients require both. Some just require companion care. It's based on each individual family and their need.
Okay, and so all of these services are provided in the home, are they?
That's correct. So wherever they call home, I mean, it could be in their home, an adult child's home, sometime even an assisted living facility. They may need some support there, but anywhere that they call home.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So, if you could tell us, how did you actually get started? Is this a part of a franchise, or is this a company that you started on your own?
This is actually part of a franchise.
Okay,
And so it is part of a franchise. And I joined the franchise back in July of 2015. So
okay,
prior to that, I had had many roles and just at the bedside for a while, then moved on to director roles, case management, revenue integrity, which is a lot of compliance and billing. And then as I
and
continue to grow,
and would that be in the hospital environment, or is
yes.
that okay? Gotcha. All right.
So I was in the hospital. I also did some consulting and a little bit of sales. And so with nursing, that's the wonderful thing about it. You can do so many different things. So I had the opportunity to be able to experience many types of careers, even still using my nursing background. And so my last role was at one of the major hospitals here in Atlanta, the director role. And during that time period, I mean, I had the itch to kind of do my own thing. I completed my MBA a long time ago. And so once I completed that, I really had the itch to be able to do my own thing. But it's difficult when you're used to getting a paycheck like every 2 weeks. And, I was a single mom. And so I had responsibilities that I really didn't want to take that risk. Um, Up until a point where I was making a decision as I was helping my loved one and deciding what am I going to do next. Do I want to go back or do I want to try this entrepreneurial route? And I decided to try the route. And so um, I was really even willing to go outside of home care or healthcare just to kind of find what was a good niche for me. But eventually, this kept coming back as a growing business. And so I settled on the Home Helpers franchise and actually purchased it from another owner. And so here I am.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So, what were some of the considerations or some of the things that you were thinking about when when you were thinking should I start a company on my own or should I do a franchise model? What were some of the considerations you had?
Well, one of the things was the amount of support I would have kind of going out there doing it on my own. And would it be harder for me to do it alone and get up and running versus having a franchise in order to kind of have some policy and procedures and things in place already where I wouldn't have to really recreate the wheel or invent the wheel, so to speak.
Mhm.
And so the policies were there, the name was kind of there as well. And so all of that was already there that I didn't have to build. And then I felt a little bit less like I was doing it completely alone. Because I did do this alone with just a lot of support from my family, which I continue to get now. But it was actually me who was there every day and in and out. And so having a franchise to back me gave me a little more push to be able to go ahead and walk away from the kind of 9 to 5 job.
So from a financial standpoint, like you said, it can be tough walking away from that paycheck every 2 weeks that we kind of look at as our safety net. So from a financial standpoint, you mentioned that you bought a franchise, an existing franchise. How did you guys work that part out? How did you structure it? Was it something that you self funded? Or did you get loans or other things to try to make that happen?
It was both. So
Okay.
some was self-funded and also some loan. Mhm.
Okay. Awesome, awesome. And that process for you, was that a difficult one for you, or was that one that was fairly easy? And if so, what kind of made it go well for you?
I think it was just kind of because I was able to get a loan from the previous owner, so that allowed for us to negotiate a little easier. And so that's kind of where I started and began with that relationship with them. And so yes. Mhm.
Oh, so that is excellent, and I think sometimes many people don't think about the fact that especially if you are looking at an existing business or a previous business, that sometimes the owner will do some self financing, and a lot of times people just kind of out of hand will say, "Oh, I don't have the money to start this business," and they never think about that as an option.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So awesome. So in terms of having a franchise, what were, if there were any, what would you say are some of the cons, I would say, if any, associated with working with the franchise?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that you feel like you've already got to start when you walk in there. You're not creating everything yourself, and you can kind of follow probably something that someone else has done that has
Mhm,
maybe been successful. And so
mhm.
you have kind of a path to kind of walk. And the other part of that is often being able to reach out to other owners, especially when I first started. I had owners here who I could reach out to and just ask questions or get feedback from. And so that made a difference as well because you didn't feel so much alone and you were in a silo. Someone was experiencing the same things that you were in the same industry and et cetera. So that was the other thing is being able to network and get that information from other owners.
So overall, what were there any other challenges you would say that made the transition difficult or easy in your case? If people were thinking about doing something similar, what would you recommend or suggest people do in preparation to making this type of transition?
I would say just really kind of do your research and
Mhm.
call on your own, on your due diligence to go ahead and reach out to the current owners, particularly for a franchise, and really get an understanding of what their relationship is with the franchise and how they're being supported. And I think that's a good way to understand realistically maybe what your relationship may be with yourself. And so just call around and ask questions. And I did that as well. And I got some good and some bad and some in between. And so I just had to make a determination from there. But I would just say, just call and ask the current owners. And not only maybe just in your own city or your own state, but other places as well to see kind of what the feel is, you know.
Yeah. And so what would you say, has been some of the biggest, successes you've had so far, in owning and operating your own business?
I would say going back to a nurse and being caring and but it's hard to pick one, so I'll pick two. Okay, so the first one would
Yes,
be
yes.
just the care that my team has given to our clients. I am very proud of what they're doing every day and continue to do. We've won recognition every year for the care that we provide and even identified as employer of choice as well. So I'm very proud of my team that's in the field and then my staff that also helps in the office as well, because they make a huge impact in people's lives.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then the second I would say is we'll talk about later, but Call for Caring, our nonprofit, came out of this business and just identifying the challenges when I was, having conversations with other, people who would be interested in services, and we couldn't help them. And so I needed to find a way to see, everyone is asking the same question. How do we get that information out to people so they can hear it and understand and give them the resources? So when they call, we're not telling them no, but we're giving them somewhere to go. And that's how Call for Caring was born.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because I think, what a lot of times people, forget about is, when you're starting to do something entrepreneurial from an entrepreneurial standpoint, uh, eventually, hopefully, it gives you the opportunity to be able to do some of those, other things that you might want to do from a nonprofit standpoint. Or just from a time standpoint, sometimes you're able to just have a little bit more time freedom to be able to do some of those passion type of things that you want to do. Um,
Absolutely.
and so, guys, you definitely want to stay tuned, for part two as well, because we're going to talk a little bit more about home health care, long term care. I personally have. My family has had that, experience, had to deal with that experience with my mother, who,
Mhm.
was diagnosed with early onset dementia, and so we had some of the same questions, some of the same concerns, and we absolutely knew nothing. So you definitely want to stay, tuned for part two, because we're going to be talking about how to plan, how to prepare, and what to look for when it comes to, getting or hiring someone for these types of services. So in terms of, from a business, standpoint, what are some of your, growth goals? Are there some other things that you want to do with the business? Do you want to, uh, grow the business to a certain point? Do you have some goals beyond, where you are now as it relates to the business?
Definitely want to grow.
Mhm.
We this the staffing challenge has impacted us, so we want to be able to get over this hump and be
Mhm.
able to continue to service our clients with quality employees and caregivers. And so our goal is to just to continue to maintain and to grow, so we're able to do that for our families and the community as a whole.
And now that you mention that, has there been, I guess, an availability or influx of people who've said, "Hey, I'm really tired of working, on the front line in the hospital environment." Have you found, many people who have gotten to that point, or not?
I would say probably starting off, I found more people who were working maybe in the facilities who kind of wanted to be able to give more one on one care. Because
Mhm.
often when you're working in a hospital or facility, you're taking care of multiple patients. And one of the benefits of home care is that you're able to truly care for that person because you have the opportunity not to only make sure that they're okay and safe, but they're also cared for and loved on and groomed and having those conversations that often when you're in a facility, you just don't have time to do. You're doing all the technical skills and not really the soft skills. And so that's what home care does for you. It gives you that one-on-one so you can give that personal care. And people miss that. And so often they would come out and work with us in order to be able to do that. And so that's changed because everybody's just busy everywhere across healthcare. So no matter where you go, we're kind of challenged right now.
Yeah, and so with this whole COVID thing, how has that impacted your ability, your business at all in terms of growth or operational or even from a financial perspective?
Yes, yes, and yes, it has. And so, yes, it has because operational, we had to really kind of change how we interact with our clients. It's a personal business. So you want to be in the home with them. You want to be one on one in the families. Even if I'm not a caregiver, as the owner, I want to be able to see them and talk with them and see how they're doing and give them a hug. And that completely changed after COVID. And then also the first round, the second round, we did good. This last round was just tough. I mean, we had a lot of impact from families and also our caregivers as well. And so that, yes.
Yes. So overall, is this an area that you would say, hey, if you're someone who is in a hospital environment or maybe a frontline, a first responder environment, would you consider this to be a field that they should consider if they, get burnt out or tired from being in that environment or want a different challenge? Would this be one to look
Absolutely.
at?
Absolutely. Because when you're with that family, you're kind of all things to them. So you're not just a nurse, not just a respiratory therapist. You're everything. And so it allows for you to build that relationship with them and to also give them that quality of care while they're in their home. Often we're with seniors, so we're able to provide that quality as they get towards end of life, and just bring the family comfort, the family caregiver. And so they can feel like they can step away, they can go to work, they can just step away just for a moment to give themselves a break. And so when you're in the home, it gives you that pride about what you do. You're very
Mhm.
proud about the care that you give. And as healthcare professionals, that's what we want to do. We want to feel like we're making an impact. And that's what home care does.
Oh, awesome. And I didn't ask this before, but what is your typical? Is there a typical patient or a typical client um, when it comes to the services that you provide for them? Is there kind of like this is typically the kind of people that would we deal with, or is there a wide range of people that you deal with in terms of care?
So we actually deal with adults. So as long as they're an adult 18 and older, then we can provide the care if they have a need. It doesn't require a physician's order. It just really requires a need. More often than not, they're generally seniors. So I would say 65, 75 or older is generally where we're servicing them. And even at 75, some of our seniors are still pretty active. Most of them are. They're still, walking and, doing things. They just need some assistance. Maybe their chronic illness has brought them to a point where they need some physical assistance. So we're kind of there as their extended hands and arms to help them, and also companionship because they may be alone a lot. They're not going to work every day. Friends may not be there as often as they would like them. And so we're able to provide those two things for them, support and companionship as well.
Awesome, awesome. So, if there's someone out there who's listening who happens to be in the Atlanta or North Atlanta area, what would you want to share with our audience and let them know about? who you are, your availability, and some things that they should reach out to you for.
Absolutely. And so we are happy to be a part of your caregiving team. And so we are at 404-624-4663 to have a conversation and kind of ask the questions that you're not even sure what you need to ask. And so we're able to kind of prompt you and give you direction as to where to go to help your family or yourself. And so we're here to be able to serve you. Our website is homehelpershomecare.com/in-Atlanta. homehelpershomecare.com/in-Atlanta.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I am so glad that you took out time from your busy schedule to share with us and talk about your entrepreneurial journey. And guys, I want you to definitely reach out to her if you happen to be in the area and you need long-term care or assisted living in-home care. Definitely reach out to her and give her a call. Or if you have questions and you're not sure how all this works, she's
Absolutely.
an excellent resource for that. And so, particularly, I want you guys to definitely stay tuned for part two. If you happen to have a parent who is aging, and many of us are dealing with this within our family, and so you definitely want to stay tuned for part two to learn how we might be able to better assist our loved ones during this time. All right.
Absolutely.
So, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us and
Yeah,
sharing your story with us.
absolutely. It was great being here. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much. All right, guys, take care for part two. We'll see you for the very next episode. Take care.